Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow anime lover.
Jesus Christ. Mike Cunningham.
And we are the Meddling Kids, and we like to review movies. And today we'll be reviewing The Boy and the Heron, or His Heron. I don't remember what the actual Japanese title is. It's The Boy and the Heron. Mm-hmm. And then there's a different title for the Japanese version, technically. But for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. It's good to have you here. For those of you who have come back, you're our boys and girls and people, and we love you. There we go. We really love you. Anyway, so we will never spoil anything in a movie for the first, let's call it 10, 15 minutes. We're going to give a review from 0 to 5 with no spoilers. From there, we'll give you some background, and then we'll start getting into some spoilers. So don't worry if you haven't seen The Boy and the Heron, His Heron yet. I think it should be his. It was pretty much it. It was his buddy. Anyway, The Boy and the Heron yet. Let's get into it. Mike, 0 to 5. What'd you give it?
3.5.
3.5. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was your standard Studio Ghibli fare. Like it was. I think the story was great. It hit home. Very much a coming of age thing.
Sure.
Coded in so many other metaphors. The animation was good, even though it was different. Like we were just talking about. Like I did notice that there was a lot of the background seemed like portraits.
Yes.
Against certain animated objects, which could have been jarring at times, but it was just very interesting because, like I said, it's Studio Ghibli, so the animation is going to be top notch regardless. I think the animation was great. I like the story for this one. I think it just seemed a little bit disjointed. Even though I sat and watched the whole thing, I think some of it I did feel like I was missing out. Or something like maybe was left out, and I don't know if it's this is one of the first times I've watched a Studio Ghibli movie in Japanese and just read the subtitles. I'm not one that usually enjoys reading subtitles because I feel like I'll get lost in the words.
Fair. Yeah.
I'm a fairly slow reader, so I'll focus on so much of the words and not see what's going on in the film. Trying to get better at it, but for some reason it's a slow process. So because of that, I thought maybe I missed out on focusing on the words so much that I missed out on something that was happening on the screen. Yeah. Because there was a lot of this story, I just felt like that was just weird. Like some of the character developments or actions didn't really make sense. I could assume what was going on, but it wasn't really said in the movie. Yeah. There was a lot of revelations in the movie that just kind of came out of nowhere, which was, kind of jarring. But otherwise, it had certain gripes, but it was just I still enjoyed it. Yeah. I think, like I said, the story was cool. Just there was a certain. It wasn't perfect. Yeah. But yeah, so 3.5.
3.5. Cool. Yeah, I'm also going to give this a 3.5. You look at Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki, and they're not going to make something bad. I don't think especially with Miyazaki, I don't think there's a single bad Miyazaki movie. But there are better and there are worser for his gold standard. And I find this one to be on the worst of what I've seen. From an animation perspective, the animation is really good. It's always going to be good, though I found it to be not as great. And considering we just did our Studio Ghibli episode, a couple months ago, I thought the animation of Spirited Away was better. And Spirited Away came out in 2001. Yeah. And you're like, why is the animation quality slightly down right now from what I saw? However, I loved the background. So they might have been trying something different with the animation here too that I don't really know about. But the backgrounds they had of this were really cool. But you're right, it was basically a portrait. So
I did like that.
Yeah.
Because it did just focus on, but it was different. Like we talked about in Princess Mononoke, since the forest was a part of it was like New York. It's another character in this film.
For sure.
You saw the trees breathing basically, or seeing the wind through the trees and the water, the waves in the water. So with this one, there was certain scenes where the trees didn't move, the grass didn't, but you maybe saw the water riffling in the background.
Oh yeah, and not spoiling anything here, but there was you see all these ships on the horizon, and the ships are moving, and the boy and the heron are moving, but that's all. Only those three things are moving. Yeah. Everything else here is still, or they're in a library, and in the library, nothing is moving except two characters as they traverse through it, and it's a beautifully drawn library, but it is very still. So it was kind of interesting. So I'm not sure how much of that was done intentionally to kind of convey something. I don't know. I might be looking for meaning within meaning that's not necessarily there. But Either way, it's a Miyazaki, it's Ghibli. Animation was solid. I didn't like it quite as much. I also felt the story was a little more jumbled. And I agree with what you said, Revelations. It's just like, yep, this is what's going on. And don't get me wrong, Studio Ghibli, Miyazaki films, a lot of times they're considered more children's films. Mm-hmm. So like they maybe keep something a little simpler at times. I guess. And that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I feel like they do fairly well. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this before. Well, maybe like not on the podcast, but the idea of like what happened to the family film, right?
Yeah.
Movies that were both for adults and for kids. Mm-hmm. Now we see anything that's animation, you just assume it's for children, but like that's not always the case.
For sure.
Like Toy Story did it fairly well. It was just like, or even like, look at your Lion Kings. Like it was like for kids, but there was very mature themes and storytelling in those movies. So a lot of Miyazaki films are very much, it's coming of age, but they are coming into like a very like coming to adulthood fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Like and so like it's something that you can enjoy as a child, but also even like Ponyo, right?
Yeah.
Seemed very, very, very childish and immature, but it was like very adult themes that they were like kind of pushing in that movie.
And this one got more adult because there was some violence, with it a little bit that felt a little adult and jarring. And I'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, and like you look at it, it's kind of like it was very fairy tale-esque of here's the hero has a trial, what's going on with the trial, and then the magical person kind of fixes everything and everyone goes off on their happy ending, the end. And like, which isn't bad, but it's like the story was complex, but almost not complex because of how much they just kind of like spoon fed you info throughout it and how much stuff just was there. Again, it's a solid movie. It's Miyazaki, man. It's not going to be bad, but considering we just did so many Studio Ghibli films, I do think this is a weaker iteration. I will say I saw, the same of like with subtitles instead. I would have loved to see the English dub of this because it looks like they tried really hard to have English voice actors like on this, like Christian Bale's in it,
Robert Pattinson,
absolutely. So like I would have loved to see that. So honestly, I think it's worth the rewatch to see the English dub as well. And that's what I'm giving it a 3.5, but I think it's worth a rewatch to examine things a little bit deeper and also to hear like the English dub. So 3.5 from both of us. Go see it. It's a solid iteration. It's Miyazaki. It's Ghibli. It's not going to be bad. Worth seeing for sure. And I would say, potentially even in theaters worth seeing. Cool. So you said background. All right. So we know Christian Bale. What else is going on in this? Who's in this thing?
Okay. So the Boy and The Heron was released in the summer. Internationally.
Yeah.
But as far as a domestic release, it came out December 8th, 2023. The runtime is 2 hours and 5 minutes. Couldn't find anything on a budget, but I did kind of research prior budgets for other Studio Ghibli films. So the last one that came out was like Ponyo, which was about 34. And it seems like back in the Castle in the Sky was like 8 mil.
Yeah.
And then it kind of built from there to like 24, 19. So I would say this one maybe around like 30 million or something like that.
And like I don't know this for sure, but like there have been allegations with Studio Ghibli and other Japanese animation companies that they severely underpay their workers. So that also could kind of keep budget down a little bit, unfortunately. But yeah, so I'd say that makes sense about like the 30 mil or around the same.
Just a guess, but like based on like how the budgets have progressed in the past few years.
For sure.
The box office as of right now is 84 million internationally.
Oh, internationally. Cool.
So we'll see. The Rotten Tomatoes has it at 97 for critics and 82 for audience. So, I mean, I think that's kind of standard fare for a Studio Ghibli for the most part.
And I think, Rotten Tomatoes, as we always say, that's just looking at the percentage of positive reviews. It doesn't have to be 10 out of 10 reviews, but anything like 6 out of 10 and above. And I can't really see why any critic would say this is a bad movie. Yeah.
The genre is anime, adventure, fantasy. Director is Miyazaki, who had prior done Castle in the Sky. My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke, and I wanted to say this during my actual review. I did see a lot of Easter eggs to his former films.
Oh, for sure.
So like the princess reminded me of Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah.
Some of the parakeets and stuff like that kind of look like My Neighbor Totoro.
Yep. Yeah. I thought when there was the flame that you were going to get that cinder dude from Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like there were so many other there were so many nods to prior Ghibli movies, and it was slight.
Yeah,
it was I guess what Wish was trying to do from Disney, trying to just throw those Easter eggs to prior Disney films.
Yeah. You know something? I do have a slight complaint. I'm thinking about it. Is just because Howl's Moving Castle had such good animation of food and eating. There was only like one small scene of him eating, and don't get me wrong, that bread, butter, and jam looked tasty. But like I'm talking, Studio Ghibli films have like good looking food in it sometimes, and there was not great looking food here, so I was a little disappointed.
The director is Miyazaki, as you said prior. The American cast at least was Luca, Padovan as Mahito. Robert Pattinson as the Grey Heron, Karen Fukuhara as Lady Hime, Gemma Chan as Natsuko, I think that's the aunt.
Yeah, Natsuko, the aunt.
Yeah, Christian Bale as Sochi, I can't remember who that was.
Oh, that's his father.
His father, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Mark Hamill as the granduncle, Florence Pugh as Kiriko.
Right. Mark Hamill was the granduncle.
Willem Dafoe as the pelican. And then Dave Bautista as the parakeet king.
Okay, cool. Oh, dude, I have to see this English cast movie now.
And it was like, because Christian Bale, I think, wasn't he from Howl's Moving Castle? Wasn't he Howl?
I think he was, yeah.
It was interesting to see like how many times like these actors come back to do the Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah. The fact that Batista's the parakeet king. Oh my God, I love Batista. That's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't find a tagline for this one, so that's all the information that I have.
The tagline: The Boy, the Heron. Could be his heron. Watch and find out.
Way too long.
That's what
we gotta turn the poster over.
That's why they don't hire me for taglines.
It's like over.
All right. Over. Keep it going. Yeah. All right. The Boy and the Heron. Watch all these murderous birds. That's what it really should be, because there's a lot of murderous birds in this.
Dead ass serious. There was no hesitance.
Cool. All right. So before we get into our spoilers and play-by-play now, a quick word from our sponsors. Hey, us, me. I'm Edward Hunt. I'm on the Just Be team. I'm a real estate agent. I'm on the Just Be team of Compass. We're all about finding where you're meant to be. So yeah, if you would like any advice on the market, specifically I work in the DMV, that's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So any advice on the market, feel free, ask anytime. But more than that, if you need any phenomenal contractors, handyman, electrician, plumbers, I have phenomenal connections for you. If you need to talk to some lenders, you want to refinance, you want to get a HELOC or figure out any financial situations, or just know, hey, how much can I borrow right now? I can connect you with some phenomenal people there too. Also, Compass is a nationwide brokerage, so no matter where you are in America, I can find you the right resources to help you. Also, I'm a comic book writer right now on Global Comics and soon Amazon Kindle. Global Comics, you can read my comic for free. Amazon Kindle, if you want to support me and my artists as we're continuing, you can buy it, I think, for $4.99 for a digital. And I should be able to sell my physical copy soon, too. I'm just waiting for Amazon to give me the go-ahead. And if they have any new news, I'll make sure to let everyone know. But yeah, let's get started. So how does this movie begin? I need to know because I did miss the first 10 minutes. My bad. I mistimed. I did a double feature, and if there were ads, I would have been perfect. But yeah, so what happens here?
So we start with like an explosion, and we see that there's a fire at a hospital. Mm-hmm. So Mahito's woken up by his father because they realize that the hospital's on fire and his mother is at the hospital. Mm. So like you see the whole town racing to try to put out the fire. And it was just interesting because first his dad tells him to stay there. Okay. And so but obviously he's a kid. So he chases after his father and then he kind of comes back because he needs to put clothes. He realizes he's in his pajamas. So he goes back and, puts his uniform on for some reason and rushes to the hospital to kind of help. And this is where you see the rest of the town just with water buckets trying to work together to stop this fire. It's like a huge fire. Clearly it won't be stopped. Yeah. And you find out that it said he starts narrating shortly after this and says 3 years after the war. No, 3 years into the war. Okay. My mother died at a hospital, in a fire at a hospital.
Got you. Okay.
And then 1 year after that, they left Tokyo. Okay. And this is where you see him moving to some I guess the estate that what's her name? Natsuko lived.
Got you. So his mother and Natsuko, because they're sisters.
Yeah. So that's what was weird. Okay. And this is what I was talking about, these revelations. Mm-hmm. When you meet Natsuko, for the first things he said was that she looks just like my mom. Oh, okay. But you don't find out. There's little hints later on, and this is what I'm saying. I think it might have been different if or maybe I just missed it when reading or something like that. This I'm not blaming it on the film so much because, like I said, I don't often watch films with strictly subtitles. Because I know how I might not comprehend something or I might miss something.
Are you trying to tell me you didn't stay up till 4 a.m. watching anime and Bleach and Naruto with the first week it came out?
No,
pirated.
I'll wait until that shit gets done.
I
get made fun of by all my friends who watch anime, and I don't care. That's why Attack on Titan just ended. Not for your boy. I'm not gonna wait for that dub. But so yeah, I'm not blaming it on the film for that. But it was just like when they first meet Natsuko, you could tell that his dad is smitten by her, and I think he mentions that a lot in the film. And he just says that she looks just like my mom. She makes comments about she hadn't seen him since she was a kid, and I'm just confused as to like what the fuck is going on.
Meanwhile, the dad knows that this is the younger sister, and he's just like, I like this bloodline, so that's what I need to go with.
And so like they arrive into her town or wherever the dad is there because he's opened up a factory, and I think this is a little bit of trivia. I think the director was saying how like that kind of happened to him. His dad actually worked at or owned a factory that made those parts for the plane.
It looked like the cockpit. Yeah.
His dad actually worked. So this was a kind of like a homage to his father.
Okay.
Yeah, so immediately as they get there, they get off the train. Natsuko comes to pick them up in like a cab, but it was just like a guy on a bike with the thing in the back.
Well, because this is like 1939 or something like that.
1946.
That's right. 40. I thought the war was still.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's Godzilla.
Yeah, you're thinking Godzilla. Yeah. Because this is like it's around the war. So so like 38, 39,
right.
something. Yeah.
And so she comes to pick them up. The dad goes off to the warehouse, the factory. Sorry, and so she takes Mahito to her, the compound that she lives on. Yeah. And at first they stop, and you just see some soldier being marched through town, and there's signs. There's signs that translated to say like, "Thank you for fighting for us" or something like that. Okay. So they stop for them, kind of bow and give them a salute. Yeah. And then you see them. So you clearly see it's still wartime.
Yeah. Interesting. So then did they mention, was like the hospital on fire because of like the air raids or something?
I think that's a bit of it. Yeah. I think that's something but it wasn't explicitly said, but I think knowing the time period that most of these films are, centered around, you can just presume that that's what it was. Yeah. And so what happens? Oh yeah. So after they stop for the soldier, they go to the house. She has the taxi driver like take the bag up to the house, and like she says she walks them through the front of the house to give them the tour. Okay. And when they get to the top of the stairs in this huge estate, she points out the factory that his dad's working. Say, let's go there sometime. And it's interesting because of the fact that like you just assume, like me, I'm just once again gathering information. This is the first 10, 15 minutes of the film, so I'm trying to figure out these characters that I'm being introduced to. So obviously, I know the boy's going to go through something in this film because his mother has passed.
For sure, yeah.
And I wasn't sure what role his stepmother was going to play because she does say that on the way. She says, I'm going to be your new mom. Yeah. And then she puts his hand on her belly to let him know that she's pregnant.
Dad moves quick.
Yeah.
Dad moves quick.
And so just like in these moments, I'm trying to figure out what type of character what role is she going to play? Right? Is she going to be the evil stepmother or like she's going to be nice and he's just going to be resistant? And I think it was the latter, not the former.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I was still trying to figure it out. Because we're not sure she's just like playing nice.
Yeah. She an evil witch, whatever. Yeah.
And so like they get to the house, she walks him around. We get to meet the grandmothers or the maids that live in the house.
Bunch of old ladies.
Yeah, and they're like fascinated at the sweets and things that the father brought in a suitcase.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of take it. It's like sardines and like just I think a bit of tobacco or whatever it is. Like he's brought from like Tokyo. And then she takes him to his room. And she, for him to get rest, she goes to bring him tea. He immediately passes out. Like he's very tired. Yeah. And before he gets to his room, we get introduced to the gray heron. Okay. It was like so it's in the water, and then it kind of flies up through the house. Even though it's kind of outside where they're walking because it's like it's a huge estate. Yeah. It kind of flies past him. Okay. And she says, "Oh, he never does that. He must be welcoming you."
Got you, yeah.
And then so she takes him to his room. He passes out. She comes to bring him tea. And while he's asleep, he has kind of a nightmare about his mother burning. But she tells him goodbye. Okay. And stuff like that. But he's still racing through the fire trying to get to her. Yeah, but she's very calm. And then he wakes up and like he kind of like tours the estate, and he sees the gray heron or whatever, and like it flies off to this tower.
Yeah.
And so like he runs to the tower, and then this is where you see like the his stepmom and the maids are like kind of looking for calling for him, and he ignores them, goes to the tower, but he can't get into it. But he sees kind of feathers falling from the gray heron, trying to like call, like basically it was like telling him to come follow me.
Got you, yeah.
And even the old maids make comments about like him being there, and he'll get lost or taken or something like that.
Interesting.
It's very ominous, but we don't know yet. There's something with this tower.
Got you.
And while he's at the tower, but he can't get in because it's kind of sealed off, or it was fully sealed off, and for some reason now it's a bit open.
Got you. Okay.
And so he takes some of the feathers from the gray heron or whatever, and then he goes. They bring him back to the house. That night he kind of wakes up in the middle of the night, and he has he goes downstairs to kind of wait for his dad, but he has more visions of his mom or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the next morning he has breakfast with his dad, and he kind of takes him to school.
Okay. Yep.
It's kind of races through, but like I can't remember where you
sure. Well, so I'm gonna be like coming up is
okay.
like so like coming up a little bit after the school scene, because I've read the Wikipedia plot. So like after the school scene.
Okay. So so first, since his dad is like the owner of the factory, they're fairly wealthy for the time or whatever. Because he mentions like he paid somebody like 300 yen for something, but obviously they had money. So he's we're gonna drive the Datsun to the school. It was like, oh, the school kids will be so jealous and stuff like that. So like he drives them to the school. They go inside. He gets introduced in front of the class, and when he sits down, you do see a bit of resentment for some of the other class mates or whatever. And then
they're a bunch of country, kids I've never seen. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so like then I guess at recess or after school, you do see him approach some of his classmates, and like they just get into a fight. And I was confused. Once again, I think there was a lot of this story that was disjointed, where like you're coming in from the outside and they're not providing you information. Yeah. So it can be a bit frustrating.
It used to be on site for the new kid. I just let that kid know.
So that's what was weird, because it was like Mahito walked up to the school kids. Yeah. They didn't like chase him home or something, anything like that. Like he approached them. Yeah. And so what happened is they do get into a tussle as he's walking home. Yeah. He's a bit beaten up, but not terribly. Yeah. And so he takes a rock and smashes it on his own head. Yeah. And it starts bleeding profusely. And then he goes to the house, and there's this whole thing with like his aunt like nursing. Well, we don't know it's his aunt yet. Yeah. Or the movie hasn't said it. Got you. Okay. And so then, like, they're bandaging him up. His father races home, like, "Who did this? I'll avenge you." Yeah, I think this is kind of where I got it. He's sitting in the hospital bed. He has the bandage on. His father's like, "Who would possibly do this to you? That's ridiculous." And he's just like, "Oh, I was clumsy," or some shit like that. Clearly, once again, like watching a little bit further, like gathering the information, was just like he didn't want to go to school. Like, and this is what I was saying. It was like clearly this is going to be a movie about him dealing with the grief of losing his mother. For sure. Yeah. But it was just kind of weird how they did, because he's always fairly polite. Yeah. No one's like being disrespectful or mean or bullying her or anything like that. So it was like, I don't think they showed him going through grief. Yeah. I guess properly. Got you. Something where it was just like he's just angry at the world. He's just angry at the world. He's just bashing. But it was just like he was still yes ma'am, yes sir, like very respectful. So it was like there was such a disparity between his actions and what he was, or not, maybe not his actions or what he was supposedly feeling. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, he was a very driven kid. You know, like where I came with this, I was like, holy crap, whenever that kid made a decision to do anything, he was like, nope, I'm doing it. And and so, so after the fight, like he's, being nursed back to health. We do see that his aunt, she's pregnant. So like she's dealing with certain, she's, morning sickness and like, so she's basically bedridden. He has an encounter. So he goes, oh, I think this is when the heron like busting through the window or whatever. Yeah. So it's just like, and this is where you kind of get, oh, this is not a regular. Okay, yes, because before that, so the heron only looked normal up to this point. Yeah. All of a sudden, this heron has teeth, and I'm like, what the hell is that? So that was the thing. That's what happened at one point. I think before his stepmom was bedridden. Yeah. There was a scene like after he's his head is bandaged up, and he goes outside because he sees the heron, and he grabs like the wooden sword. Yeah.
He grabs one sword, he runs over there.
And he tries to attack it, and the heron breaks it.
Yep.
And then that's when the stepmom shoots an arrow at it. Because it was just like, this was a very interesting scene, because it's like the heron is there talking to him, and it has teeth now.
Yeah, it has teeth.
And it was like, I'm curious, too, with Robin Pattinson playing the heron.
Yeah.
Because he went from the heron went from something regal in my mind to like a scumbag.
And it was weird.
It reminded me of the character from Princess Mononoke, I guess the thief guy that was like
the monk
working both sides.
Yeah, the monk guy. Yeah, absolutely.
He reminded me of that, because it was like you would think he's very like pristine and something.
But all of a sudden you see the teeth, and he's like, "You're welcome. You're invited. You're invited." And like you see that nose start to form there too, and I'm like,
it was very interesting. So it's just like as that's happening, you see like the toads or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
they start swarming him and everything. And then Natsuko runs out with a bow and then shoots it,
and then everything scatters.
Yeah. And then he like passes out. But then everyone is like, so literally this is where I came into the movie basically. And then everyone's like, that was your imagination. I was like, what the fuck you mean this is imagination? Like,
so then they tell him that he wakes up finally after like a few days.
Is it days or something like
that?
Yeah,
that's what that was a few days after he woke up. And then it was like, he goes to the closet where he had picked up that bat or whatever, and it's still there, not broken. But then when he picks it up, it kind of shatters.
It shatters, which was when the heron bit it in half and then shattered it with his teeth. So like they went in the water and grabbed all the sticks and put it together, and then
this is where you see, like you hear the maid saying like weird things happen. They do repeat it several times, like weird things happen here.
Yeah, but like
his stepmother, I think after the first encounter with the tower, she says something like, this was like their family estate, and her grand uncle had created the tower.
Yeah, he was an architect or something.
Yeah, he was obsessed with reading, and he disappeared into the tower, and nobody saw him.
Yeah,
again. So there was hints of that, and then I think after the encounter with the heron and the toads and stuff like that, he passes out, wakes up.
And then that's what I'm saying. He's driven because he's like, fucking, I'm making a knife. Yeah. I'm making a bow. I'm going to kill this motherfucker. Like, he's obsessed with killing this heron.
He makes a bow.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that he needs like arrowheads and stuff like that. They keep telling him to visit his stepmom.
Yeah.
Because she's bedridden and she's worried about him. And like, he goes to see her, and this is where you get her saying, I'm so sorry, sister, I couldn't protect him or something.
Exactly.
Like
I'm so sorry.
And I'm just like, I'm sitting there like, this seems like a huge revelation. Now, it might have been different when you got introduced to her. Yeah. Oh, this is her sister, because the Wikipedia says that immediately.
Yeah,
right?
Immediately in there.
But it was like I said, it might be something that I missed.
Maybe they're still trying to make it be kind of mysterious. Yeah. But for me, coming in, missing the first part, I had they said lady of the house. I didn't fully know if that was a stepmom, aunt, whatever. But she's, I'm so sorry, big sister, I let you down. I was like, okay, good. It's his aunt. I immediately got that.
And that's what I thought, even that when she said, I thought maybe it was something like she slipped.
Yeah.
You know, like I wasn't sure because it wasn't something that was established ahead of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when he goes to visit her, like she sees that he's okay. She mentions, sister, I failed you, basically.
Yeah.
And he takes a box of cigarettes from her, from her dresser counter or something like that, and trades those cigarettes with one of the older gentlemen that works there.
Yeah.
So that he can make him a knife or just sharpen his knife.
Teach him how to sharpen it. I'm pretty sure it's just teach him how to sharpen a knife and give him a whetstone and all that stuff. Yeah.
And so from there, he creates a better bow and an arrow using the feathers from the heron. And while he's doing that in his room, like he knocks over a bunch of books and he opens one and it's just like, it's his mother's handwriting. It says to Mojito when you're grown or something or to a grown Mojito.
Yeah.
Basically. So for something when you're older.
Yeah.
And it's the book, How Do You Live? And I think that's what the original title, well, at least when this movie was first announced,
that
was the title.
Yep.
How Do You Live?
Yeah.
And so
apparently you make bows, sharpen knives, and I'm fucking kill a heron. That's how I live, damn it.
And so he starts, and when he's in his room, he's just scouring through this book, reading it. And you see there's tears in his eyes.
He's crying.
Yeah. And as he's sitting in his room reading that, he sees Natsuko, like she's in the yard or something like that. And like she stops for a bit and then she continues to walk into the forest.
Yep.
He thinks nothing of it. He continues with what he's doing. And then a little bit later, you see that there's a search party, like the maids and his dad are like looking for his stepmother, and they're like, so he opens the window and he's like, what are you doing? He was like, the lady went missing, and so like he was like, I'll help. So he gets dressed, he gets his bow and his arrow, because once again, like you said, he was about that life. He was immediately
on site. He sees that heron on site. That thing's dead. All right.
Homeboy don't play around. So like then he goes with one of the maids there, Kiriko.
Yep. Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, she went into the forest. She couldn't have gotten far."
Mm-hmm.
And even like she's a little like, "Oh, we don't, she wouldn't have."
The
she wouldn't
maid,
have gone there.
the maid knows something's up.
And
I
I
the
think
whole time
it was a bit annoying, but it was like I know storytelling. It is that withholding information until a certain time or whatever.
Yeah,
because he knows that the heron has been bothering him since that encounter at the water.
Yeah.
Where he's just saying like you've been invited, you've been requested or something.
Yeah,
like
your presence is requested or something like that. Yeah,
and so he knows that basically, or he suspects that the heron has kidnapped his stepmom as a trap.
Yes, yeah.
And so they go through the forest, they get to the tower, and they see the tower like as soon as they arrive, it kind of lights up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then the boy draws the bow and he says, "Just return Natsuko."
Mm-hmm.
And he is like, "Oh no, you got to come in here." And
he's also the heron saying his mother's still alive, or he rescued his mom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that also is a way to bait him in. Mm-hmm. Kiriko's like, "It's a trap," and the boy's like, "I know it's a trap, but I'm gonna do it anyway." I'm like, "Damn, who is this like 8-year-old boy who was like?"
See, I thought he was like 14.
I don't know how old he is.
For some reason, because like you said, it wasn't like a Ponyo, right? Where like clearly she was, even that little boy was like 8.
5.
That little boy was like 5 or 8. Yeah,
I think like 5 or 6. So
maybe I'm thinking of Graveyard of the Fireflies. Yeah, they were a little bit older.
Yeah, Graveyard of the Fireflies was older. I would posit though, this kid, I would bet he's like.
I thought he was at least 12. I thought he was
maybe 12. Maybe 12. Yeah.
This was the animation doesn't help either.
No, it doesn't, because they have this grown kid with the grown haircut, shaved sides.
Well, no, it's only because that's where he hit his head.
I know, yeah, but like because that makes him look a lot older as well,
and his actions too.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so he goes into the tower and it closes. The door closes right after them, and then they walk into this library.
Yeah.
And this is what you're saying. It was just like it's very still, and the only thing moving is the boy and the heron.
Yes.
And this is where you see more of like. First, there was teeth coming out. Like the heron had teeth in its beak. Sorry, and then you see just this huge nose.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, what? Even though I've watched, we did it for the show. We watched a bunch of stuff, and I was like, what the fuck?
It was off-putting. In a good way. It was because the animation is done very well, but it made you uncomfortable. Looking at it was uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so like laying on this couch was it Natsuko or his mom?
His mom.
His mom.
It was his mom. Yeah.
But when he goes to touch her, she starts to melt, and I was like, nightmare fuel. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. She just and like great visualization. She's melting and going through.
Because it's like a ward or a mirage or whatever. And then like so he gets angry and he aims the arrow at the gray heron or whatever. Yeah. And he doesn't even shoot it. The bow is basically shoots itself.
Yeah, but the heron. I was so confused. Like, what is the heron's motivation?
Yeah,
because the heron's like, "Do it, you'll miss, and then I'll bite out your fucking heart." And I was like, "What the hell, heron? Like, I thought you wanted him to come. Like, are you just trying to murder him?" And that's something with like Studio Ghibli in general. I just remember thinking the same for Spirited Away with like the witch lady. She's like, "Do it so I can own your soul forever." Ah, you bested me. Never mind. We're on the same side now, you crazy kid. And the heron's like, "I'm going to eat your fucking heart." And I'm like, okay. Then the bow shoots itself.
It shoots itself, and it kind of chases the heron through the library
because it has its feathers. I guess is the magic property.
And it finally just pierces his beak.
Yeah,
but piercing his beak is like basically destroying his costume.
Yeah,
and this is where you see there's just a man,
this bald, big nosed man over there,
and he's just wearing a heron costume. So like then now that he's found out. The boy like kind of threatens his life, and he's like, "Fine." And this is where you see this ominous figure at the top of the tower in the library saying, "Like, I command you to take him."
Yeah, like, to be his guide.
His guide. Yeah.
And then, like it is like I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? You know,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're not. They haven't provided enough information.
Nah. Yeah.
And so, but we finally get this mystical element of the movie, and so being that he's been commanded to, the gray heron is like, fine. Yeah. And so like you just slowly start seeing them all sink to the floor. Yeah. And Kiriko, the old lady, was like, "Me too." And like,
I don't want to do this. No, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I'm good.
And she sinks as well. Then next thing you see is like the little boy kind of drowning, and then he just like arrives on shore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he arrives on shore. Then there's
no. He floats up to the surface.
Yeah.
Swims to shore, and he's just by himself. And this is where you see these boats in the distance.
It was really cool. It was like it wasn't a watercolor, in the background, but it was like a very light, ethereal way of painting. Almost, it looked like the animation back, and the boats were just constantly streaming by, and it's the same boats on repeat going through. But it was a really cool, because where the boy was and where the grass was like kind of normal animation, and then the landscape in the back was like this different coloration of everything, which was really cool. I like that a lot. Yeah.
And so now that he's on the land, I'm like, he's kind of heading towards this like gate that's locked.
Yep, there's a gate, and there's a bunch of pelicans.
And then he starts getting attacked by pelicans because they're trying to. Now you see that all these birds are like carnivores, basically. Yeah. They don't eat anything but humans.
They're like food. Yeah.
And so like they kind of bum rush him, open it, like push open the gate.
Yeah, and you see like
there's like kind of this cavern or something that they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
And before they can get to it, we see like this lady, like she's like, I guess, a seafarer or something like that.
She's got a boat.
She comes, she gets on land, and she has this like kind of wand that just like emits fire.
Yeah, like a fire. Look, she made me. I'm like, look, I gotta teach myself how to sail, because the way she was masterfully sailing this sailboat by herself, I was like, that's amazing. I need to learn how to sail. Damn it, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So she wards off all the pelicans. She asked the boat, like, why the hell did you open the gate?
Yeah.
And before he can answer, like, she just takes him with her.
And because the boy has something, the pelicans didn't eat him, right?
Yes, he has it must have been the feather or
something. Yeah, because I didn't realize the pelicans truly were trying to eat him until she made the statement.
So I thought, because since they pointed to this cavern, I thought they were trying to break open the gate, because they mentioned eating. But I didn't think same. I didn't think they were trying to eat him.
I just assumed pelicans didn't eat little boys like that. But then she was like, "Oh, because you had that, they couldn't."
I think
eat
it was the feather. I'm pretty sure.
Probably, yeah.
It was the feather from the gray heron from the boat.
And then it was like they're looking at the cavern, and she's just like, "Don't take your eyes off it," but something could rise out of it, and now walk away.
Yeah, she said something about the dead were wise.
Yeah, the dead were right. But then they just walked away, and they're on the boat, and I'm like, okay. Cool. So then they're on the boat and they start sailing.
Yeah, they start sailing, and she kind of starts giving him she asks him his name or whatever, and just kind of give him the lay of the land of this world.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, and I think that's what sometimes is difficult for Studio Ghibli, being that it's all animation, it's all mystical.
Yeah.
You can't tell when it's switching over to like an alternate world, or this is not regular.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
fair.
That's what was like a little bit different with I guess Howl's Moving Castle. Since it was all mystical or whatever,
that was the world.
That was the world.
Yeah.
But it was like, this one is very much, it should be like kind of the upside down, or something that really shows you that you're no longer, you're no longer in Kansas. Like, this is Oz.
You're out of here.
Type of thing. But she starts just giving him the lay of the land, and she says something about the ships. They'll always be there, or something like that. They'll never go away. It's a ship. She teaches him how to catch a fish. We see them fishing, and they catch this huge fish. And then they're sailing through different parts. And they kind of get to this huge boat that's shipwrecked, and you see that there's these beings that are like rowing beside them, and they look like spirits or something like that. And then she mentions the fact that like, that's the reason they're there. You see them all with like plates and stuff like that.
Yeah, they want the fish because she put up that flag, whatever. Yeah.
And then she says something about they can't kill for themselves, so like that's her job basically. And also we meet the Watahari or some shit like that. The little spirits,
puffball things. White puffballs. Yeah.
So we just see, and then so they basically she fillets the fish.
Yeah.
To sell to the different the spirits there. And it was like just interesting to see this world.
Yeah.
And then later in the night, like he's sleeping, he wakes up to a bunch of totems basically, and it's all the
old ladies,
the old maids from and I think this is when he realized he calls her Kiriko, or something like that. And I think I noticed it a bit because she had the same cloak on. It was like this yellow cloak with like kind of like anchors, not anchors, sorry, like the
steering wheel,
of the ship. Like she was wearing that in their world, so it was like I wasn't sure. Like I was interested because they all sunk into the floor at the same time. Yeah, but they didn't arrive at the same place.
Yeah, so she became like her young self, basically. Yes. Yeah.
But even then, she kind of didn't know him though. Yeah, because she was like, "How do you know my name?"
Because I guess maybe like transported back or something.
So like this is where there is a bit of time travel as well. Yeah. But once again, I don't think they explain this world enough.
Nope. Yeah.
So like for you to fully get it,
you just kind of have to accept you're still along for the ride. That's kind of the thing. It's like you're along for the ride. You just kind of have. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland-esque, very much like here's what's going on. Good luck, and then kind of start going.
Yeah. So later, so we have that exchange with he tells her name or whatever. They have dinner, and then a short time later, you see that since the little puffball spirits have eaten, now they can fly.
Yeah.
And so as they start flying, she tells him that those are they're going basically to his world to become humans.
Yep, to get reincarnated.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah.
And so they're watching this, and it's very mystical, and they kind of link up. And as this is happening, you see
the fucking pelicans, man.
You see a bunch of pelicans attacking, and he's like yelling at them. He was like, "You're killing them! Like, what are you doing?" And then we see this a young woman on a boat. In the middle of the ocean, she's just shooting up fire and stuff like to try to stop the pelicans, to ward them off. And like he's yelling at her because of the fact that her fire is just destroying everything, not just the pelicans.
Gotcha.
And obviously he wants to save the souls so they can get to to the other side to be reborn. And so she sails off because now she's warded off the pelicans.
She's like, I did my job. Everything burned. Yeah, to keep moving. Yeah.
And then a short time later, I think he was sleeping. He wakes up to go out to go outside, and he finally gets reconnected with the blue heron.
Yes. Yeah.
Whose thing is still damaged, so he's still
this weird bald man.
Yeah. And then he also has an exchange with a pelican who's dying, who got, I guess, burned by. We learned that the woman was like Lady Himi. So he got burned, and he was like, "Please put me out of my misery." Yeah. And then the boy is just saying like, "Why do you kill these spirits?" Yeah. And he the pelican was just like, "We don't want to." It was just like, these waters are basically bare, so we don't have anything to eat. We were brought here, basically to feed on those souls. It was like being more sympathetic and understanding. It was just like, they're just trying to survive. It's not like they're trying to be sinister or anything like that. It was just like, they can't fish in these waters. So and there's nothing else for them to eat. That's why. So they're just doing this to survive. Yeah. And so before the boy can kill it, like he asked, it just dies on its own. Yeah. And then he goes to go inside, and I think the blue heron the gray heron is there as well. And he was like, "What are you going to do?" or something like that. So the boy goes inside, grabs a shovel, and actually buries the dying pelican. And then shortly after, we see that Kiriko assigns the gray heron and the boy to work together in order to go find his stepmom or his aunt. Yeah. And it was like, I think this is another thing. It was like they made it. It seemed kind of forced and weird. Where it was just like, oh, now it's this buddy cop thing where like they don't like one another, but they have to work together. Yeah. And it was like, where the fuck did this come? Yeah. Like, I guess you can kind of see it, but it was like also knowing the gray heron, Jesus Christ. Yeah. He was blue. He wasn't fucking great. Yeah. Unless I'm colorblind.
Nah, I'm pretty sure but they called him the gray one.
Yeah. But it was like the heron was tasked with getting the boy to come to the other side. I assume by the granduncle.
Yeah, pretty sure it must have been.
So why the fuck is he so combative? Like, it didn't, like you said, it didn't make sense for him to be like, you are requested, and then like, if you shoot me and miss, I'm going to eat your heart out.
Exactly, it made no sense. Yeah.
So it was just like, it was really weird in this moment where they're assigned to work together. Yeah. And like they're fighting.
Maybe he's just a dick.
Yeah.
It's gray hair.
And so she sends them off to work together. And this is a funny scene. Yeah. So like the only way for the heron's costume to work is if they seal the hole.
Yes. Yeah.
And so like they using a stick, they plug the hole and then they cut it, and it was like, it sort of works, but it's kind of off. Yeah. And so like, but as soon as the heron like he fixes it a bit, he's like, oh fuck you, I'm leaving. Yeah. I'm out of here. And then he goes to run away, and then like, shortly you see him like, oh, just fix it a little bit. It was
a little bit more would be great. Yeah.
It was so funny. He was talking all that shit, but still needed the boy's help. Yeah. So I'll give it that scene. That was very funny. And like they go to the blacksmith or something like that.
Yeah, but they need to visit the blacksmith or something.
And this is where we find out that the birds are basically cannibals. So it's like there was like parakeets.
Now there's fucking parakeets. Yeah, they came out of nowhere.
And it was like, you don't want to cross parakeets because if they see a human, they'll eat you.
Yes. And they were like, they ate the blacksmith. Yeah. And I was like, what? Okay.
And so what happens?
So then he goes in.
So no, the blue heron creates a distraction.
Yes.
For the parakeet, because there's a bunch of them. Yeah. And so the boy goes to break into the blacksmith's like a house or workshop. Yeah. and there's already parakeets.
That was like a jump scare.
Yeah.
So he opens the door and the parakeets are like, oof.
And they're like, oh, we've been expecting you. Like, please come this way. And I'm just like, okay.
And then they flashes to.
And then like as they're walking him into the house, you see the two parakeets just have knives.
One has a cleaver, one has a knife, and you're like, holy shit, they're gonna butcher this kid. Yeah, that's what I was talking about the violence. I was like, it's like a little violent here right now. They were trying to literally butcher this kid.
And so like they walk him to the kitchen to be butchered, and then like before they can do anything, we just get this fire spirit come and like kind of ward them off, and we see that it is Lady Hime or whatever, and he tells her that he's looking for Natsuko, and she says, "Oh, my little sister," or something like that, and once again, it's like, okay, so this is his mom.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to be like, so you got immediately that now it's his mother. Yeah, this is his mother.
It's not sad, but it was like I'm still piecing together whatever information you're providing me.
Yeah, for sure. So like, as soon as she says that, I'm like, yep, mom.
And so this is my. But it was like that's what threw me off. I was like, why didn't he get that?
Yeah,
it wasn't until later.
It was not until later.
And I was just like, what? You know, I'm not doing this with you today. Not today. Not today, Mojito.
Yeah. Well, I bet some little kids probably wouldn't get it out of when they first watch it until the end.
And this is what we're talking about, this idea of like time travel and not it's just not establishing this world, which it sounds like a big ask because of the fact that like you shouldn't have to spoon feed me through your universe and the world that you're creating. But it was like some established rules would be nice. Is like learning about the parakeets fine. Yeah. But it was just like seeing like you jump through time and space. This just is a big willy nilly without explaining that, because like we've seen different worlds in Studio Ghibli, right? That's fine. We've seen like live cats and like for sure, like a fucking scarecrow or like we've seen these things and that's fine, but you still need to establish the rules of this world. Yeah, like I mean, again, Spirited Away did a great job. Like you open it, cool. This witch runs a bathhouse. All spirits come for bathing. Yeah, there you go. Keep it moving. Yeah, this was a very complex, kind of convoluted of like we're in different space time and all these other people are in space time and we have cannibal birds and they've overrun everything too, because of the fact that you have the boy being he's your audience, right? You can exposit to him all you want to explain this world. That's kind of usually most movies that need to explain the world like that do have a character that's brand new to this world. We got that, like you said, with Spirited Away and a young girl. Yeah. But anyway, he meets Lady Hime. She takes him to her house or whatever. She feeds him jam and bread. Looks tasty. And then he mentions that, like, this tastes just like what my mom used to make. And I'm just like, so what's not clicking? No, like, come on, bro. What we doing? Come on. Yeah. And so I think she takes him to see Natsuko. She takes him to see his aunt, who is... and they have to sneak into the palace, like full of the parakeets. There's a fuck ton of parakeets here. There's an immense amount. Yeah, but they sneak into the room where she is, and it was like you see this one thing leading up to it, where like the parakeets find him, they chase him down this hallway, they go through a door, and all the parakeets go and they. So this is where you do see the doors leading to other worlds, basically. Yep. And so she shows him the one back to the tower, because basically that tower connects all those doors. Yeah. And connects all those doors to different worlds. And I think it's just different space times. Yeah, exactly. But I assume the tower was the... I assume, but you don't know. I wonder if it is different worlds or just different times of maybe we don't know. Yeah. Oh, maybe different times. Yeah, right. Because I'm pretty sure because they mentioned a little bit later. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, but the parakeets are chasing them. They run to the door. This is the door you need to go into. Yeah. So they open for him to go home. So like she opens the door, they walk through it, and at this time, so we'll just cut. Yeah, as back in his world while all this is going on, his dad they're searching for both Natsuko, Mojito, and Kiriko. Yes. 3 people have gone missing. Yeah. And you get some of the maids talking about how, this is just regular. And then they mention that the tower wasn't created by the granduncle. There was like a meteor that hit. Yeah. And he created the tower around that meteor. Yeah. And then he went missing. And then I think even like Lady Hime or whatever went missing. Yes. So his mother, Hitsuko, went missing for a year. Yes, right? That's her name. Hitsuko. But so she went missing. They couldn't find her. She was gone for a year. She came back like nothing happened. Yeah. And so this is where we find that out briefly. And then like the dad is like, well, he gathers up all his gear and he was like, I guess I got to go to the tower. Yeah. And I love the dad too. He's like, I got my sword. He's like, fuck it. All right, we're going to figure this shit out. And then I got to see where Mojito gets it. Damn right. Yeah. Mojito's like, yep, violence is the answer, bro. And so like his dad is, and the maids are racing to the tower to continue the search. And this is when Mahito and Lady Hime, she's showing him how the door works.
Yeah.
So they walk through the door, they burst through the door because like the
parakeets are like
the parakeets are chasing him, and they're like, you see that they burst through, they close the door, but they keep their hand on the doorknob.
Yeah.
Because she says as soon as you let go, the door will disappear forever.
Yeah.
And so like they hold on to it, and as they're holding on to it, his dad sees him, and so he starts rushing towards him.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, not right now. We still need to save Natsuko.
Because Hime's like, you can leave.
Yeah,
this is your option to get out. And he's like, no, we need to get Natsuko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they open the door back up. They get encountered. So now they see that there's parakeets coming from both sides. Yeah. So they burst open through the door. These huge humanoid parakeets turn into regular parakeets in his world.
And poop over everything.
And
they just poop over everything.
It was interesting how like both times anytime you saw birds in the roar, they were just shitting all over you.
Just shit all over everything. Because they turn all little birds and the dad's like...
I think they shit them to what is this?
Well, because the dad's rushing. He's like, you fucking fiends. I'll kill you.
Yeah, he was like slicing through them. And then the next thing you know, they're just like... And it was the cutest thing. Like one of the parrots went from big to small. And he's just in the dad's face like, what's up?
Yeah, then the dad's just covered in bird poop.
Yeah. So now we get the magic between the worlds.
Yes.
And we understand, like, now he knows how to get back home.
Yeah.
So after this, they escape back into the door. And, like, this was the dad is like, oh, my son turned into parakeets.
He's like, no.
And so they visit. Hime takes him to the birthing room of Natsuko.
Yeah. And
so he goes in.
And while they're going, they're like, don't touch the stone. The stone is angry we're here. And you're like, the stone walls are angry you're here?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And so she refuses to go in. So he goes in and he's like trying to convince her to come home. And she initially sees him and she's just furious.
Yeah.
And then so he's like, he calls her mother, like, you're my mother, you're my mother.
Yeah.
And
Natsuko's like, I hate you. What's going on? And like,
And this is another thing too. It was just like, I guess he assumed, and this is, I think it's, like I said, I think this, trying to figure out what story it was trying to tell and how a lot was just missing.
Yeah. Well, because also at this point in time, I'm like, are they saying that technically he's the baby inside Natsuko's belly right now? You know, obviously her womb, not her belly. But, you know, like her womb, but like, are they saying he's the baby after all? Because like it's calling her mother. Because, I mean, like, I have a stepmom. I fucking love my stepmom. Gina, if you ever listen to this, I love you. You're amazing. But I don't necessarily call Gina mom. I call Gina Gina. Yeah. And like, and that's how we roll.
But that's what I'm saying. I think what story was it? Like, what journey was he going through to get here, right? I think that's what was, like I said, it could have been where his, like, obviously he's resistant to his very nice stepmother. Yeah. But I don't think him calling her mom was the goal in that scenario.
Also, why is Natsuko saying she hates him? Like, what the fuck? That came out of left field, too. She's like, I hate you. Why? Because you want to
So I think it was because of the fact that she knew that he was breaking tradition.
Yeah.
So, like, she was trying to get him out of there before he got in trouble. Yeah. Possibly.
Maybe. Yeah, fair.
But, yeah, so it's, like, really weird, the tension between them. And he's calling her mother to try to convince her that, like, he's finally accepting of, like, being in this new place. But he just gets kicked out. Yep. And when he gets kicked out, they both get... Well,
Hime goes in and burns a bunch of shit, too. Yeah. But she did say earlier that she has less power in this castle. So they both pass the fuck out.
Yeah. And they both get captured.
Yeah.
So he wakes up and he has, like, a vision... He goes through this, basically to this garden, and he meets his great granduncle, the creator of the, of this world, basically. And the granduncle is saying how, like, he was basically summoning him to be his replacement.
Because the granduncle's playing with those blocks, and he like touches the blocks and they don't fall. He's like, great, the world will last another day. And I'm like,
he's like, another day.
Yeah, what? And then they go and talk in like the grassy area, and then he wants to be the successor and stuff. Yeah. But then like with the blocks, did you get this? When he was like, those blocks are made of stone, which means they're tombs and it's bad. And I was like, the fuck are you talking about?
This is what I'm saying. It was like this. I felt like there was just things I was missing.
Yeah, I was so confused because literally the blocks are made of stone, and Mahito says these blocks are made of stone, and that's like tombs, and therefore they're bad.
It should be made of wood or something.
Yeah, instead of made of wood. And the grand uncle's like,
correct answer.
That's why I want you to be my successor. And I was like, what the fuck?
Because there's also something about the bloodline. I think that's why he was able to access the tower.
Yes.
Because only someone from his bloodline could access it.
I get the bloodline makes sense to me. I get that. I don't get the stone comment.
But even like, why would you want me to hit your successor? That means that nobody else, our bloodline ends here, basically.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
But so he has that meeting with his uncle and then his great grand uncle.
Yeah. Well, technically Natsuko's baby, whatever that is, could continue.
Yeah, if she makes it back to...
Yeah, well, maybe he's assuming he will. He's like, you'll be the successor. You'll be here. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
But so like he wakes up in the kitchen of one of the parakeets.
This was ridiculous. All the fucking dead raw meat in this kitchen. I was like, sir, this is a Studio Ghibli film. Why am I looking at butchered meat everywhere? There's like buckets of, not entrails, I guess, but it's like bloody raw meat on bone all over this fucking kitchen. That parakeet sharpening a knife. Yeah. I'm like,
so yeah, he's basically preparing Mahito to be a part of the feast, or be the feast.
I didn't realize this was a horror movie. All right, it covered my damn eyes.
So while Mahito is trapped in the kitchen, about to be butchered or whatever, we see that Lady Hime is like being brought by the Parakeet King to the granduncle. Yeah. As basically a bargaining chip.
Well, technically, he gets out right before this happens, like when he sees it, because remember
but it's still happening. What I'm saying is, while he's in the kitchen, this is happening with her.
Oh, really? I thought it was that. I thought we saw it for the first time with the gray heron, but yeah.
No. It was before. Okay. Because it was like, remember, he's marching up. He's basically like saying like, we can use her as a bargaining chip to save this empire, save this world.
Right. Yeah.
And so as he's in the kitchen trying to escape, you see the gray heron pretending to be a parakeet.
Hysterical. Like fucking hysterical right here. This was funny. Yeah.
And then so he breaks them out.
He's got big googly eyes on a bucket. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
So he breaks him out, and then they go, and it was like, this is the funniest thing too, is like, because he just bonks the parakeet on the head.
He has a big bone. Bonk.
And it was like, I was like, why did you grab the, I'm saying grab the knife. Like, you try to kill me, it's over now. All this PG shit is gone.
Yeah, exactly. No, fuck that. These things need to die.
Yeah, they grab bones and they just bonk two other parakeets on the head.
The parakeets, like, it's like Scooby-Doo. Like, they bonk one and then one's right behind him. He saw his buddy got bonked, but no, he didn't realize it. Luckily, parakeets, I think, are considered dumb birds, so maybe it was that. But yeah,
so they escape, and now they're making their way up the tower on the outside to avoid all the other parakeets.
Yeah. Well, because they're like, oh, we need to rescue Hime, and the gray heron's like, she'll handle herself, and then they see she's getting carted through again in that like glass coffin. Yeah, and it's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. So like as they make it to as the Parakeet King, so like he speaks to his men, right? Because they were all following him, and they're like, "Oh, can we all come?" And he was like, "No, it's just gonna be me." Yeah. And these two guys carrying the glass coffin.
I want to see Batista.
This parakeet. Yeah. And so like they go to the last trek, and it's just like this wooden staircase up into like the void, where the granduncle is staying. And so he sees that Mahito and the gray heron are chasing him. So he just, with his sword, just starts destroying the staircase.
Everything. Also, Mahito, too. So just on the outside, before Mahito gets in, there's like that really beautiful stained glass thing. Mahito's like, kicks the fuck out of it. I'm like, all right, Mahito.
I was expecting the gray heron to say, my man, I had the key.
No, Mahito's just like, nah, son, this ain't what we do.
Also, weren't we sneaking up on them?
Nah, man.
We'll talk about sneaking up in the Parakeet King, because that's the funniest shit.
God, yes.
But so like he sees that they're chasing after him, so he destroys the stairs, and I'm just thinking, so you're not coming back down?
No, exactly. They're parakeets. They can fly. They're good. Yeah, he is ready to just kill the fuck out of this kid for that too.
So yeah, he destroys the stairs behind him. They go and talk to the granduncle,
and the parakeet like minions are like, "Is this heaven? Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Are we in heaven?" And I'm just like, "Is this heaven?" They're talking about reincarnation.
Well, that's why I just called it the void.
The void, yeah.
Because it was like, we went to this empty space. They're getting shocked by something.
Yeah,
the stone.
Yeah, stones are shocking people too.
And then once they make it through there, they just make it to the garden where the void is. So yeah, I think maybe it's like a Garden of Eden type of thing, like the beginning.
That's what it was.
The kind of beginning of existence.
But then it makes me think of the ending of this movie. It's like, what? So heaven's gone?
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
I don't know. And so the Parakeet King and the granduncle talk, and basically they just come to terms of the fact that like trying to continue continue the empire and keep it safe.
It was very bad that Mahito went in and broke taboo because he went into the nursery.
Yes, that's what it was. It was just like, so it was bad that Mahito went into the nursing room.
No one knows.
And then it broke tradition for Hime to take him.
Yes, to the nursing room. But it was fine for Natsuko to go in there to give birth to her baby, I guess. Because that's what the plan. Natsuko's just going to be in there till it's time to birth the baby.
And so they have, the Parakeet King and the granduncle have their meeting. They present Hime, like she greets her granduncle or whatever. And then like they go to leave. Yeah. The Parakeet King and his minions go to leave. And then I think he realizes that that the Gray Heron and Mojito survived.
Yeah.
So he was like, all right, y'all go.
Mhm.
I'll stay behind. Just tell them I was a great king because he's ready to die.
But like literally, the successor guy just told him, he was like, "Don't worry, Mojito's gonna be my successor. He'll keep this world fine. Don't worry about it." And the guy's like, "Nah, motherfucker needs to die." I was like, "Okay, like this is your guy."
This is the funniest sneaking around thing.
Yeah.
So it's like the Parakeet King is like. Parakeet King is sneaking behind Mojito and the Gray Heron.
Like 5 feet behind him.
And it was just like, bro, there's no way. Because it's like, also, you out in the open. It's not like you in the woods and I'm sneaking behind trees.
Yeah,
it's like you out in the fucking open.
Yeah.
And so, like, Mojito finally gets to Himi. He greets her or whatever to make sure she's okay. And this is where you get another test from the great-granduncle saying, like, will you be my successor and stuff like that. And, like, the Parakeet King hears this and he's like, this boy, like, this is what you're giving, like, because he wanted Mojito like to rebuild the tower to see like how he would, because we see that it's just a bunch of blocks. There's like cylinders and squares, rectangles, and triangle for the top, and like circles. Yeah,
and he says
orbs or whatever.
And because Mojito doesn't have malice or whatever,
that's what it was.
The tower. Yes,
and he was like, Mojito says, I do have malice. It was like this. Scar on my head was self-inflicted.
Remember when I busted my head in with a fucking rock? Yeah, I got malice, all right. I'm a dark kid.
And so he kind of refuses because based on those criteria, he said, I don't meet them.
Yeah.
And so the Parakeet King is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, just build a damn tower. You're leaving it to this boy. Yeah. And he goes to build it.
And he builds it terribly.
He builds
That's the worst tower I've ever seen.
And then he just gets mad and he just strikes it down with his sword. Yeah. And when he does that, the entire world starts breaking. Yeah. And so... You see, like they all have to run away, like, and so it was just weird because it was like, what does this mean?
Yeah, what's going on right now?
And so like they run away. You see like everybody just trying to escape through the doors, basically. And so we see them. Lady Himi, Kiriko meets up with them. Yeah. So it's like those four: the Mojito, the Gray Heron, Lady Himi, and Kiriko. Yeah. And then also a bunch of the parakeets. So like before they go through his door that she had shown him earlier, she says that I need to go back in a different door to become your mother. Yes. And like he tells her, but you're gonna die in a fire. And she was like, I know, but like I'll still have you and all.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Just knowing like this is how it has to be.
Yeah. And so her and Kiriko go through the same door together. Yeah.
And so following the Gray Heron and Mojito through their door, we see a bunch of the parakeets.
I would have shut that door so fucking fast on those parakeets. Fuck all those parakeets.
And the pelicans.
Yeah, and the pelicans too. Yeah, he's like, oh, the pelicans made it. Now fuck all these birds.
Y'all had a bunch of shit to say.
Yeah, exactly. You tried to fucking kill me and my boys. Nah, slam. Go fucking enjoy the void, fuckers. No. Because then they get to the door and Natsuko kind of comes to a little bit more. She's like, oh my god, parakeets, they're so beautiful. And what do those parakeets do? They shit all over her, man. Fuck this.
But yeah, so now they're back in his world or whatever, and then like we get the
tower collapses.
The tower collapses.
So what the hell happened to heaven? What the hell happened to all of this?
It's not understanding like what that world was.
Dude, this was like a void world that didn't matter, but apparently all the souls would reincarnate and go there. So like, what is that? What are the implications? All right, it's the implications here. Okay.
But yeah, so then we get more narration. They say like 2 years after the tower fell, he and his family moved back to Tokyo. So we see that kind of.
I think the war ended too.
The war has ended, so like they go back to Tokyo. So now we see that his brother has been born. Yeah. And he's like, I assume like around 2 years old. Yeah. His Natsuko is calling him so they can leave. And like he's cleaning up his room. Yeah. And they just leave they leave that estate to go back to Tokyo. Yep. And that's the end of the movie.
The end. So that was the fever dream that I like to call The Boy and the Heron, because
he hit himself in the head and
then never woke back up. Because yeah, man, it's even talking about it, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I need to watch it again. So what we always like to do at the end of all of our episodes is revisit our original rankings and see if they change. So Mike, you gave it a 3.5. Are you sticking to your 3.5? Or
yes, I think I loved everything about this movie, but there just seemed to be a few things missing. Yeah, not a lot. But it was just like there was just like some of the motivations and understandings. Like I don't know what lesson was supposed to be learned, and maybe that's just because of the fact that it was like it shouldn't be spoon fed to me, or like it shouldn't be blatant. Like it's layered. Maybe that's it. But it was just like I couldn't figure out what lesson the boy was supposed to learn, because I can once again when it was called How Do You Live. I I assumed going in and it was going to be about him grieving for his mom, kind of retreating to this this mystical world to deal with that grief.
That was not that at all.
And it was like, so that's what I'm saying. It was like I couldn't understand what lessons he was supposed to learn.
Boy was like, I need to rescue this woman I don't really like, and I'm gonna do it, damn it, and I'm gonna kill whatever the fuck gets in my way.
So yeah, I think if there was a little bit more cohesion with the storytelling and the messaging, for me at least,
for sure,
I would have liked this a bit more. So 3.5, I'm sticking with it. Like I said, it wasn't a terrible film, but like I've liked a lot more Studio Ghibli's a little bit better than this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna give this. I'll stick with my 3.5 as well. I agree with everything you said, and I also think it really merits a rewatch. This of most of the Miyazaki Studio.
Yeah, this is more of like a rewatching a Fight Club. Like,
yeah, so just so I can like figure out.
Like I watched Spirited Away because classic film.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was like this one, I'm just like, all right, now go on.
Yeah, go on. Like, explain this to me again. But I do think it's worth the rewatch, which is a big reason why I'm sticking with the 3.5 and not dropping it to like a 3, for instance.
Yeah.
Because I think it's worth the rewatch. I think a lot of stuff was thrown at you and like kind of trying to piece it all together. For some of it might really just be have fun with it. Don't think about it too hard. Like, the fact that heaven was destroyed in Japan in 1942. You know what I mean? I just accept that and then you move on. But yeah, so that is The Boy and The Heron, not his heron, whatever. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We are the Meddling Kids. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us at 2meddlingkids on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at 2meddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they reach out to you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Cool. If you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and my Hunt Comics Instagram is hunt.comics. We'll see you next week with a brand new movie. I'll catch you next time. Listen.